Enforcing National Electrical Code Section 700.12e requires coordination with landlords and tenants. Work with both parties to ensure that the required emergency lighting is properly connected to the local circuit. If the existing exterior circuit does not have an unswitched leg, consider installing a separate unswitched circuit dedicated for emergency lighting. Another option to consider is allowing tenants to share an unswitched circuit for emergency lighting, but make sure that the circuit capacity is sufficient to handle the load of all connected emergency lights. Meeting National Electrical Code Section 700.16 requirements means you should use fixtures with multiple lamps. Emergency light fixtures at the exit should have at least 2 lamps to prevent total darkness in the event of one lamp failure. Consider external light contribution. While exterior light from wall packs or nearby buildings may provide some illumination, it is not a substitute for dedicated emergency lighting that meets code requirement. Consider the following additional points. Redundancy is an important factor. Think about providing multiple emergency lighting fixtures to increase redundancy and minimize the risk of total darkness. Maintenance is another critical aspect. Establish a regular maintenance schedule for emergency lighting systems to ensure they are in good working order. Always coordinate with the authority having jurisdiction, otherwise known as the AHJ. Consult with the local authority having jurisdiction to ensure compliance with code requirements and any local interpretations of the code. Strip malls typically have common area lighting circuits that provide power to exterior soffit and wall pack fixtures. These circuits are often unswitched and can be used to connect emergency lighting. Tenant improvements may involve modifications to the lighting circuits, so it is important to involve the landlord and coordinate with the authority having jurisdiction to ensure proper connection. Nighttime exterior light contribution can provide some assurance against total darkness, but it should not be relied upon as a primary source of emergency lighting. Let's delve a bit deeper into each of these points, providing more technical details and practical advice. When coordinating with landlords and tenants, it is essential to establish clear communication channels and define responsibilities upfront. Discuss the specific requirements of the emergency lighting system, including the location of fixtures, the type of wiring required, and the connection points to the building's electrical system. Document these agreements in writing to avoid misunderstandings later on. When installing a separate unswitched circuit, ensure that the circuit is properly sized to handle the load of all connected emergency lighting fixtures. Use appropriately sized conductors and overcurrent protection devices following the requirements of the National Electrical Code. The circuit should be dedicated solely to emergency lighting and should not be used for any other purpose. When considering shared circuits, carefully evaluate the existing circuit's capacity to determine whether it can handle the additional load of the emergency lighting. Use appropriate load calculations to determine the total amperage draw of all connected devices. Ensure that the circuit breaker or fuse is sized appropriately to protect the circuit from overloads. When selecting emergency light fixtures with multiple lamps, choose fixtures that are designed to provide adequate illumination in the event of a lamp failure. Look for fixtures that have a high lumen output and a wide distribution pattern. Consider using fixtures with LED lamps, which are more energy efficient and have a longer lifespan than traditional incandescent or fluorescent lamps. When evaluating external light contribution, consider the following factors: the intensity of the light, the distance from the emergency exit, and the potential for obstructions. Keep in mind that external light may not be reliable in all weather conditions or at all times of the night. Do not rely solely on external light to meet the code requirements for emergency lighting. To increase redundancy, consider providing multiple emergency lighting fixtures at each exit. This will ensure that there is always some level of illumination available, even if one or more fixtures fail. Space the fixtures strategically to provide uniform lighting coverage across the exit area. A regular maintenance schedule for emergency lighting systems should include the following tasks: testing the fixtures on a regular basis to ensure that they are functioning properly, replacing any burned out lamps or defective components, and cleaning the fixtures to remove any dust or debris that may be obstructing the light output. Document all maintenance activities and keep records of any repairs or replacements that are made. When consulting with the authority having jurisdiction, be prepared to provide detailed information about the emergency lighting system, including the location of fixtures, the type of wiring used, and the circuit connections. Be sure to ask the authority having jurisdiction about any specific requirements or interpretations of the code that may apply in your local area. The common area lighting circuits in strip malls can be a convenient source of power for emergency lighting, but it is important to verify that the circuits are unswitched and that they have sufficient capacity to handle the additional load. If the circuits are switched, they will not be suitable for emergency lighting. Tenant improvements can create challenges for emergency lighting connections, especially when the tenant is responsible for connecting to the landlord's electrical system. It is important to establish clear communication channels between the tenant, the landlord, and the authority having jurisdiction to ensure that the connections are made properly and that all code requirements are met. Remember that nighttime exterior light contribution can provide some assurance against total darkness, but it should not be relied upon as a primary source of emergency lighting. The light intensity may vary depending on the weather conditions and the time of night. It is always best to provide dedicated emergency lighting that meets all code requirements. Furthermore, consider the specific types of emergency lighting systems that might be suitable for the application. There are several types of emergency lighting systems available, each with its own advantages and disadvantages. Some common types include battery-powered emergency lights, generator-powered emergency lights, and central battery systems. Battery-powered emergency lights are self-contained units that operate on rechargeable batteries. They are relatively easy to install and maintain, but they have a limited runtime and may not be suitable for large areas. Generator-powered emergency lights are connected to a generator that automatically starts up in the event of a power outage. They can provide a longer runtime than battery-powered lights, but they are more expensive to install and maintain. Central battery systems use a central battery bank to power all of the emergency lights in a building. They are the most expensive type of emergency lighting system, but they offer the highest level of reliability and can provide a long runtime. When selecting an emergency lighting system, consider the size of the area that needs to be illuminated, the required runtime, and the budget. It is also important to choose a system that is easy to maintain and that meets all applicable code requirements. In addition to the specific requirements of the National Electrical Code, there may be other codes or standards that apply to emergency lighting systems. For example, the International Building Code, also known as the IBC, contains requirements for emergency egress lighting. It is important to be familiar with all applicable codes and standards to ensure that the emergency lighting system is compliant. Another important consideration is the placement of emergency lighting fixtures. The fixtures should be located in areas where they will provide the most effective illumination, such as near exits, stairwells, and corridors. They should also be located in areas where they are not likely to be obstructed by furniture or other objects. The height of the fixtures is also important. They should be mounted high enough to provide adequate illumination, but not so high that they are difficult to maintain. Consider using directional lighting to guide people to exits. Directional lighting can be used to highlight exit signs and to provide a clear path of egress. The lighting should be bright enough to be easily visible, but not so bright that it causes glare. Another important consideration is the color of the light. The light should be a color that is easy to see and that does not distort colors. White light is generally the best choice for emergency lighting. It is also important to consider the ambient lighting in the area. The emergency lighting should be bright enough to provide adequate illumination, even when the ambient lighting is low. In some cases, it may be necessary to supplement the emergency lighting with additional lighting to ensure that the area is adequately illuminated. Regular inspections of emergency lighting systems are crucial for ensuring their continued functionality and compliance. These inspections should be documented meticulously, noting any deficiencies or areas requiring attention. The frequency of these inspections may be dictated by local regulations or internal policies, but a monthly or quarterly inspection schedule is generally recommended. During inspections, pay close attention to the following key components. Firstly, check the battery backup system, ensuring that batteries are fully charged and free from corrosion. Secondly, test the functionality of each emergency lighting fixture by simulating a power outage. Verify that the lights activate promptly and provide adequate illumination for the specified duration. Thirdly, inspect the wiring and connections, looking for any signs of damage, loose connections, or exposed wires. Fourthly, examine the lenses and reflectors of the fixtures, cleaning them as needed to maximize light output. Fifthly, verify the placement and visibility of exit signs, ensuring that they are unobstructed and readily visible from all directions. Sixthly, document any identified deficiencies and promptly schedule repairs or replacements. Detailed records of inspections, maintenance activities, and repairs provide valuable documentation of the system's history and compliance efforts. They also serve as a valuable reference for troubleshooting and future maintenance planning. When specifying or installing emergency lighting systems, be mindful of energy efficiency considerations. Energy-efficient lighting technologies, such as light-emitting diodes, known as LED, offer significant energy savings compared to traditional incandescent or fluorescent lamps. LED fixtures consume less power, have a longer lifespan, and produce less heat, resulting in reduced operating costs and improved sustainability. Consider incorporating occupancy sensors or dimming controls to further optimize energy usage. Occupancy sensors can automatically turn off emergency lights when an area is unoccupied, while dimming controls can reduce light output during periods of low activity. These strategies can significantly reduce energy consumption without compromising safety or compliance. When dealing with complex or unusual building layouts, it may be beneficial to conduct a lighting simulation to ensure adequate emergency lighting coverage. Lighting simulation software can model the distribution of light throughout the space, taking into account factors such as room dimensions, surface reflectances, and fixture characteristics. This allows you to visualize the effectiveness of the emergency lighting system and identify any areas that may require additional illumination. In the event of a building evacuation, clear and concise communication is essential for guiding occupants to safety. Consider integrating the emergency lighting system with the building's fire alarm system or public address system. This allows for coordinated announcements and instructions to be broadcast throughout the building, directing occupants to designated exit routes. Exit signs should be strategically placed along evacuation routes, providing clear and unambiguous guidance to exits. These signs should be illuminated at all times, even during normal power conditions, to ensure their visibility in the event of an emergency. In high-occupancy buildings or those with complex layouts, consider using photoluminescent exit signs. Photoluminescent signs absorb ambient light and emit a glowing light in the event of a power outage, providing a reliable and self-sufficient means of egress guidance. When designing emergency lighting systems for healthcare facilities, special considerations must be taken into account. Healthcare facilities have unique requirements for lighting levels, color rendering, and infection control. Emergency lighting systems in these facilities must be designed to meet these specific needs. For example, operating rooms and intensive care units may require high levels of illumination to support critical medical procedures. It is important to consult with healthcare professionals and facility managers to determine the specific lighting requirements for each area. When specifying emergency lighting systems for industrial facilities, durability and resistance to harsh environments are key considerations. Industrial facilities often expose lighting fixtures to extreme temperatures, humidity, dust, and corrosive substances. Emergency lighting systems in these facilities must be designed to withstand these harsh conditions and maintain their functionality over time. Consider using fixtures with rugged enclosures, sealed lenses, and corrosion-resistant finishes. In addition to the technical aspects of emergency lighting systems, it is important to consider the human factors involved. Emergency lighting should be designed to minimize disorientation and panic during an evacuation. The lighting should be uniform and consistent, without any harsh shadows or glare. Exit signs should be easily visible and understandable, even to people who are unfamiliar with the building. By taking into account these human factors, you can help to create a safer and more effective emergency lighting system. Regular training and drills are essential for ensuring that building occupants are familiar with the emergency lighting system and know how to evacuate the building safely. Training should cover the location of exits, the operation of emergency lighting fixtures, and the procedures to follow in the event of an emergency. Drills should be conducted periodically to simulate real-world emergency scenarios and to reinforce the training. All building occupants should participate in these drills, including employees, tenants, and visitors. The use of smart lighting technologies can enhance the performance and functionality of emergency lighting systems. Smart lighting systems can be programmed to automatically adjust light levels based on occupancy, time of day, or ambient light conditions. They can also be integrated with building management systems to provide remote monitoring and control capabilities. In the event of an emergency, smart lighting systems can be programmed to automatically activate emergency lighting fixtures and to guide occupants to safety. Consider the long-term life cycle costs when evaluating emergency lighting systems. The initial purchase price is only one factor to consider. You should also take into account the operating costs, maintenance costs, and replacement cost over the lifetime of the system. Energy-efficient lighting technologies, such as light-emitting diodes, known as LED, can significantly reduce operating costs. Durable and reliable fixtures can minimize maintenance and replacement costs. By considering these life cycle costs, you can make a more informed decision about which emergency lighting system is the best value for your organization. When upgrading or retrofitting existing emergency lighting systems, be sure to properly dispose of the old fixtures and lamps. Many older lighting fixtures contain hazardous materials such as mercury. These materials must be disposed of in accordance with local regulations. Contact a qualified recycling center to arrange for the proper disposal of your old lighting fixtures and lamps. Stay informed about the latest developments in emergency lighting technology and regulations. The field of emergency lighting is constantly evolving, with new technologies and standards being introduced on a regular basis. By staying up to date on these developments, you can ensure that your emergency lighting system is compliant with the latest requirements and that you are using the most effective technologies available. Subscribe to industry publications, attend conferences and seminars, and network with other professionals in the field. Emergency lighting is a critical component of building safety. By following these best practices, you can help to ensure that your emergency lighting system is effective, reliable, and compliant with all applicable regulations. This will help to protect the lives and safety of building occupants in the event of an emergency. Furthermore, document all aspects of the emergency lighting system, including design specifications, installation details, maintenance records, and inspection reports. This documentation serves as a valuable resource for future reference, troubleshooting, and compliance audits. Store the documentation in a secure and accessible location and make it available to authorized personnel as needed. Consider the aesthetic impact of emergency lighting fixtures and the overall design of the building. Emergency lighting fixtures should be functional and effective, but they should also be visually appealing and complement the building's architecture. Choose fixtures that are aesthetically pleasing and that blend seamlessly with the surrounding environment. Avoid fixtures that are bulky, obtrusive, or detract from the building's overall appearance. In historic buildings or those with unique architectural features, special care should be taken to preserve the building's character while still meeting emergency lighting requirements. Consult with preservation experts and architects to develop solutions that are both functional and aesthetically sensitive. Explore alternative lighting technologies such as fiber optic lighting or wireless lighting controls to minimize the impact on the building's historic fabric. Conduct regular fire drills to familiarize building occupants with evacuation procedures and the location of emergency exits. Fire drills should be conducted at least annually, and more frequently in high occupancy buildings or those with complex layouts. During fire drills, simulate a variety of emergency scenarios to prepare occupants for different types of events. Provide clear and concise instructions to occupants during fire drills and ensure that all occupants participate fully. Use fire drills as an opportunity to evaluate the effectiveness of the emergency lighting system and to identify any areas that need improvement. In addition to fire drills, provide regular safety training to building occupants on topics such as fire prevention, emergency response, and first aid. Safety training should be tailored to the specific needs of the building and its occupants. Provide training materials in multiple languages and offer training sessions at various times to accommodate different schedules. Encourage building occupants to ask questions and to share their concerns about safety. A well-informed and engaged building population is essential for creating a safe and secure environment. Establish a clear chain of command for emergency response and assign specific roles and responsibilities to designated individuals. These individuals should be trained in emergency response procedures and should be equipped with the necessary resources to carry out their duties. The chain of command should be clearly communicated to all building occupants, and emergency contact information should be readily available. Develop a comprehensive emergency response plan that outlines the procedures to be followed in the event of various types of emergencies, such as fires, medical emergencies, and natural disasters. The emergency response plan should be tailored to the specific needs of the building and its occupants. The plan should be regularly reviewed and updated to ensure that it remains relevant and effective. Share the emergency response plan with all building occupants and conduct regular training exercises to familiarize them with its contents. Collaborate with local emergency responders, such as fire departments and police departments, to develop coordinated emergency response strategies. Invite emergency responders to conduct walkthroughs of the building to familiarize them with its layout and emergency systems. Participate in community-wide emergency preparedness exercises to test and refine the building's emergency response plan. By working together with local emergency responders, you can enhance the safety and security of the building and its occupants. Consider the needs of people with disabilities when designing and implementing emergency lighting systems. People with disabilities may have difficulty seeing, hearing, or moving, and they may require additional assistance during an emergency evacuation. Ensure that emergency lighting fixtures are accessible and that they provide adequate illumination for people with visual impairments. Use audible alarms and visual signals to alert people with hearing impairments to an emergency. Provide accessible evacuation routes and designated areas of refuge for people with mobility impairments. Train building occupants to assist people with disabilities during an emergency evacuation. Regularly evaluate the performance of the emergency lighting system and make adjustments as needed. This evaluation should include a review of maintenance records, inspection reports, and feedback from building occupants. Identify any areas where the system is not performing as expected and implement corrective actions to address these issues. Continuously strive to improve the effectiveness and reliability of the emergency lighting system. By following these additional recommendations, you can create a safer and more secure environment for all building occupants. Remember that emergency lighting is not just about meeting code requirements. It is about protecting lives and ensuring that people can safely evacuate a building in the event of an emergency.